I know how you arrived here tonight, with heavy shoulders and a heart far too quiet for someone who has been trying to stay strong this whole time. I saw the tears that never fell, because you learned how to swallow your pride and your pain. I heard the prayers you whispered in the dark while the house was asleep, and only the sound of your own breathing seemed to witness your exhaustion. That is why you aren't watching this video by chance. I brought you here now, at this exact moment, because there is a message that needs to break through your fear and touch the deepest, most hidden part of your soul. My son, my daughter, I enter where no one else can. I touch what no one else notices. I know the weight you carry in silence, the nights that feel far too long, the waiting that seems never ending. Today, I do not come with distant words. I come with a specific promise. Whatever has been stealing your sleep will be confronted by my hand. The decision you are terrified to make will be illuminated by me. And the answer you've been begging for has already started to move as you listen to me. You are not adrift. You are being led. Right now, I'm breaking that sense of abandonment and pouring rest over your tight chest, because this is the day change begins from within and manifests on the outside. If this spoke to you, write in the comments. I trust the process. Leave a like and share this message with someone you love, and stay until the end. I am still here. When night falls and the silence of the house finally settles in, that is when the weight you tried to hide during the day begins to reveal itself with full force, as if the darkness had permission to touch the wounds you pretended not to feel. I know you lie there staring at the ceiling, trying to organize thoughts that feel too jumbled, trying to hold on to a faith that is trembling inside. While everyone else believes you are fine, I see the weariness behind your eyes, the tension tightening your jaw, the deep sigh you let out when no one is looking. My son, my daughter, you learned how to endure, how to fix things, how to stay quiet. But there is a part of you that is exhausted from being strong all the time. I do not ignore that. I do not diminish it. I do not call you weak for feeling this way. What you call weakness, I call wounded humanity. And that is exactly where I enter now, not to demand more from you, but to relieve what has become too heavy to carry alone. You've been trying to understand why certain doors won't open, why certain answers won't come, why your effort doesn't seem to produce the expected result. In the middle of this prolonged wait, a silent question is born that you're almost afraid to voice. Is God still listening to me? I heard that question before it even fully formed in your mind. I heard it when you swallowed it so you wouldn't seem ungrateful. I heard it when you compared your life to others and felt a sting of injustice. My beloved, waiting is not abandonment. The delay you interpret as neglect is actually an invisible adjustment being made in your favor. I am working on layers you cannot see yet. I am moving people, circumstances, and details that need to align. While you think everything is standing still, there is a silent movement happening right now, this very second, for your benefit. I also know the fear you don't put into words, that dread that something will go wrong, that the stability you still have will slip through your fingers, that unexpected news will change everything overnight. You've grown used to living on high alert, always prepared for the worst, as if anticipating the pain could somehow lessen the impact. But living this way has stolen your peace. It has left your body tense and your mind frayed. I see how your heart races over things that may never happen. I know how your breath grows short when you think about the future. That is why I step in with authority over this internal territory you cannot control. Fear will not have the final word over your story. I'm planting security where there was only insecurity. I'm pouring calm where there was turmoil, and I'm rebuilding your trust, not in fragile circumstances, but in me, for I do not change. You carry responsibilities that seem endless, family expectations, financial commitments, decisions only you can make. Often you feel like you don't have the right to break down because everyone depends on your stability. My son, my daughter, I know what it's like to be the pillar of support. I know what it's like to sustain others while feeling like no one sustains you. I do not leave you invisible in that position. Every silent sacrifice you've made, every difficult choice you took for the sake of those you love, every sleepless night trying to find solutions, all of it is before me. Nothing went unnoticed. Today, I tell you, you don't have to keep pretending you are unbreakable. I am the rock that sustains you. I am the rest your heart seeks. The strength you feel is lacking will be renewed from the inside out, not as a momentary boost, but as a deep and constant restoration. There are also old guilts you carry like invisible chains, past decisions you revisit mentally, imagining how everything could have been different if you had chosen another path. You judge yourself harshly, you relive conversations, mistakes, and omissions. In the silence, you wonder if you still deserve to experience something good after what happened. I know every memory that still hurts. I know every regret that weighs you down. I do not approach you with condemnation, but with healing. What you call a sentence, I transform into a lesson. What you call failure, I use as fertile ground for maturity. Today, I touch the very memory that accuses you most, and I declare liberation over it. The past has no authority to determine the future I am building for you. Perhaps what hurts most is the feeling of loneliness, even when surrounded by people, that impression that no one truly understands the depth of what you feel, that your words always come out incomplete, and your feelings are always mistranslated. My beloved, I know you beyond the sentences you can formulate. I read what your eyes communicate and what your silence screams. That is why you have never truly been alone. When you sat on the edge of the bed trying to hold back tears, I was there. When you drove in silence thinking about life, I was there. When you smiled just so you wouldn't worry anyone, I was there too. Now I wrap you in a presence that is neither distant nor symbolic. It is real, it is close, it is alive, and it is beginning to fill the void that seemed impossible to reach. You've been asking for a sign, something concrete to confirm you aren't walking in vain, that your prayers aren't dissipating into thin air, that your perseverance isn't useless. I heard that request. Today, I give you more than an external sign. I give you an internal transformation that will begin to alter the way you see everything around you. Before circumstances change, your perception will be healed. Before the visible answer appears, trust will be restored within you. This is a miracle happening at the root, not just on the surface. It is a deep adjustment preparing the ground for what is to come. What is about to happen in your life will not be a stroke of luck, but the result of a process I conducted with precision, even when you thought you were lost. There are days when you wake up already tired, as if rest is never enough, as if an invisible battle is draining your strength before the first commitment of the day. I know you've thought about giving up on certain things, shrinking your dreams, or accepting less than you truly desire just to avoid new disappointments. But I did not allow your hope to die completely. I was the one who kept that small flame burning inside you even when the winds of circumstance blew hard. Now, I am blowing on that flame with care and power, not to create a passing euphoria, but to reignite purpose, to return direction, and to remind you that there are still chapters to be lived and experiences that will bring genuine joy to your heart. As you listen to me, something is being reorganized inside you, like pieces finally finding their place after being misaligned for so long. The weight that felt constant is beginning to give way, not because all your problems suddenly vanished, but because you no longer feel alone facing them. I am taking onto myself what you tried to solve with your own strength. I am gathering the anxiety you carried for so long. I'm replacing thoughts of defeat with a serenity that doesn't need full explanations. The healing I begin now is not superficial. It touches deep roots, reaching areas you avoided revisiting, and brings a kind of peace that doesn't need noise to be real. Prepare yourself, my son, my daughter, because the coming days won't just be a continuation of what has been. They will mark a new rhythm in your walk. You will start to notice small changes, details that went unnoticed before, opportunities arising unexpectedly, encounters that bring subtle answers. Do not underestimate these movements. They are signs that the promise is materializing step by step. I did not bring you this far to abandon you halfway. I led you to this specific moment to declare that the season of overload is being replaced by a season of renewal. What once felt like mere survival will begin to transform into a life of meaning, direction, and true rest. When you wake up before the alarm and stare into the darkness of the room, feeling the weight of a day that hasn't even started, I am there. I notice the sigh you try to hold back so you won't wake the person beside you. I see the thought that creeps in, saying it will just be another difficult day, another sequence of endless responsibilities. My son, my daughter, this weariness, which isn't just physical but emotional and spiritual, is not weakness. It is a sign that you have been carrying more than you should for far too long, trying to keep everything in order while you feel in disarray inside. You've been strong out of necessity, not choice. I recognize every silent effort no one applauded, every decision made in fear, every sacrifice made to preserve those you love. Today, I enter the start of this day before it even begins, and I place my hand over your mind, bringing clarity where there was confusion and softness where there was tension. You've wondered if there is still room for you to be cared for because you've spent so much time taking care of others that you've almost forgotten what it feels like to be supported. The truth is, you learn to be the anchor, the counselor, the one who fixes, the one who pays, the one who organizes. Now you feel a strange void, not knowing who to turn to when your heart feels tight. I know there are words you wanted to hear that never came, recognition you waited for that stayed silent, hugs that would have made a difference but never happened. My beloved, I do not ignore this legitimate need. I do not diminish this desire to be seen and valued. In this moment, I wrap you in a presence that does not fail, a presence that is never distracted, a presence that remains. You were not created to live only as a support system. You also need to receive. I myself am now becoming the sustenance your soul was searching for. There is an anxiety that has followed your footsteps, a constant thought about what might go wrong, how to keep everything running, how to prevent things from spiraling out of control. You've grown used to predicting scenarios, calculating risks, and imagining outcomes, as if that could protect you from pain. But deep down, this permanent vigilance has only stolen your peace. I know your heart races in anticipation, your mind creates stories that haven't happened, and your body feels like it's always on guard. I enter that territory of your mind now, and I declare rest over your thoughts. Not everything depends on your ability to predict or control. There are situations I am leading far beyond what your eyes can reach. While you try to solve everything inside, I am already aligning circumstances on the outside. Perhaps you were recently disappointed. You trusted someone who didn't come through. You expected something that didn't happen. You believed a human promise that went unfulfilled. The pain of disappointment has a bitter taste because it mixes hope with frustration. You may have decided to close your heart a little more to keep from getting hurt again. I saw the exact moment your trust was shaken. I know how you tried to minimize the impact, saying it wasn't that important, but deep down, it was. My son, my daughter, do not let someone else's attitude determine the quality of your heart. Do not let a negative experience harden what I created to be sensitive and alive. I am restoring your ability to trust, but now it won't be based solely on people. It will be grounded in me, who never fails and never changes my intent. There is also a financial weight, a practical worry that haunts your thoughts when you look at bills, commitments, and responsibilities. You do the math, reorganize priorities, cut expenses, and yet you feel like you're always running after something that keeps slipping away. I know how this silent pressure affects your mood, how it influences your decisions and even your prayers. Often you aren't asking for luxury. You are asking for stability, for peace of mind, for security. At this moment, I touch that specific area of your life. I am beginning to open paths you haven't considered yet. Ideas that will surface, contacts that will appear, solutions that will seem simple but will be direct answers. What looks like a limit today will begin to transform into provision, and you will realize you weren't fighting alone to maintain what is essential. You felt a certain spiritual distance, as if your prayers don't have the same intensity they once did, as if the flame of faith is lower, more discreet. This worries you because you don't want to drift away, but you don't know how to reignite what seems to have faded. I know it's not a lack of love. It's accumulated exhaustion. It's an overloaded mind and a tired heart. My beloved, I do not pull away when you feel weak. I draw even closer because it is at that point of fragility that the connection becomes most true. Now, I renew within you the desire to be with me, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine need for rest. This new phase of your faith won't be loud. It will be deep, stable, and mature. You may have kept difficult questions inside, questioning past decisions, paths you chose, opportunities you let slip away. Sometimes you mentally revisit those moments and imagine what it would be like if you had done things differently, creating alternative scenarios that only increase the sense of loss. I know every one of those thoughts. I know how they arise, especially when you are alone, trying to convince you that you wasted time or threw away chances. But I declare that nothing lived is beyond my reach of redemption. What looks like a detour can become an essential part of building your character. I'm using even your imperfect choices to shape a story that will make sense later. You will yet see meaning where today you only see doubt. As you listen to me now, there is a subtle shift happening inside you, as if an old knot is slowly beginning to untie. You might not be able to name it yet, but you feel a different lightness, a slightly deeper breath, a less heavy thought. This is the beginning of the healing I promised. Not a sudden explosion, but a real, concrete process reaching areas that have been tense for a long time. I'm adjusting your interior so that when the external answers manifest, you will be ready to receive them without fear, without sabotage, without self-doubt. The liberation starting today is not just from circumstances, it is from internal patterns that limited your peace. Prepare to notice signs of renewal in simple details, in unexpected conversations, in ideas that pop up during mundane tasks, in opportunities that seem small at first glance. Do not dismiss these discrete movements. They are part of the answer you've been asking for. I am teaching you to recognize my hand in everyday things, in seemingly ordinary decisions, in encounters that change directions. Your life is not stagnant. It is in transition. The season approaching will bring more clarity, more stability, and more joy than you've experienced in recent times. Trust that this is a period of preparation and that what seemed like mere survival is being transformed into conscious purpose. I do not end this stage just by offering comfort. I end it by preparing you to walk with a different posture, a steadier gaze, and a lighter heart. You will not leave here the same way you came in, because something has been repositioned inside you. Something has been aligned. Something has been restored. My son, my daughter, the next steps will require courage, but they will not be taken in solitude. I will continue to lead, to illuminate, and to strengthen. The fear that once dominated your thoughts will begin to lose its power, and the hope that seemed distant will begin to take up real space. The promise I declared over your life is not distant or symbolic. It is in motion. You will begin to see that even in the hardest phases, I was always writing a future of healing, answers, and restoration for you. There is a part of your story you almost never tell anyone. A part that hurts when touched, that tightens your chest when remembered, and that you've learned to hide behind small talk and discreet smiles. I know exactly where that memory is kept. I know how it influences your decisions, how it shaped the way you love, trust, and even expect good things. My son, my daughter, you're not wrong for still feeling the impact of what you lived through. Some marks don't disappear with time, they just settle into silence. But I enter that place you protected so carefully now, not to expose your pain, but to treat it with gentleness and authority. What seemed final is not a sentence. What seemed irreversible is not permanent. And what wounded you will not be allowed to continue defining who you are. You've become more cautious after everything, more reserved, less willing to open up completely because you learned that expectations can turn into frustrations in a matter of days. This created a protection around your heart, an invisible barrier that keeps you safe but also keeps you distant. I understand why you did it. I know it was a legitimate attempt to avoid falling again, but I also know this defense has kept you from experiencing depth and lightness. My beloved, I don't want to tear down your protection abruptly. I want to strengthen you from the inside so you no longer need to live in constant self-preservation. When your identity is firm in me, you can open up without fear of losing yourself, love without fear of erasing yourself, and trust without fear of crumbling. There are moments when you look back and feel you gave more than you received, that you invested time, energy, and care, and didn't see the expected return. This sense of imbalance can create a deep emotional fatigue, a desire to simply stop trying in some areas of life. I saw every effort that went unrecognized, every gesture that wasn't valued, every sacrifice that went unnoticed. None of it was invisible to me. None of it was useless. What you planted with sincerity was not lost in the void. There is a harvest prepared, perhaps not in the way you imagined, perhaps not on the timeline you planned, but it will come consistently. You will realize that the good you did built paths that are now beginning to open before you. You've also been facing an internal battle between what you feel and what you believe, as if your heart and your faith are at different tempos. There are days when you declare trust, but inside you struggle with silent doubts, and that sometimes makes you feel inconsistent or weak. I am not scandalized by your questions. I do not pull away because of your uncertainties. I know that true faith isn't the absence of conflict. It's the decision to stay even when you have questions. Now, I am harmonizing those two dimensions within you, aligning emotion and conviction, bringing a stability that doesn't depend on feeling everything perfectly, but on knowing that I am still present. Your faith isn't dying, it's maturing. That process requires honesty with yourself and the courage to keep going. Perhaps you are carrying a family responsibility that weighs more than you show. Decisions that impact others, choices that must balance reason and affection. This position can make you feel alone because there isn't always someone to fully share the burden with. My son, my daughter, I know the weight of silent leadership. I know the pressure of being the reference point, the support, the example. That is exactly where I place myself beside you, not as a spectator, but as constant help. You don't need to have all the answers immediately. You don't need to solve everything today. I'm distributing wisdom at the right moment, clarity when it's needed, and direction when the decision must be made. There is also a specific fear you rarely admit. The fear of not being able to handle the future, not having enough energy, enough resources, or enough health to sustain everything you've built. This thought can surface subtly, but when it does, it brings a weight that's hard to ignore. I know how you worry in silence, how you make plans to avoid surprises, how you try to anticipate any instability. Now I declare over your life a covering of care that surpasses your ability to predict. You are not alone projecting tomorrow. I am ahead of it, preparing provision, strengthening your body, sustaining your mind, and creating circumstances that haven't even arrived yet but are already being organized for your good. As you listen to me, I am breaking internal contracts you made with yourself without realizing it. Promises to never try again, never trust again, never dream too big again. Those decisions were made in moments of pain as a form of self-protection, but they also limited your expansion. Today, I undo those invisible bonds and I give you back the freedom to desire again, to plan again, to believe again. The miracle starting now is not just external, it is internal. It is the restoration of your ability to see possibilities. What seemed closed is beginning to gain new perspectives, and you will feel a different kind of courage rising from the inside out. There is a healing happening in the way you see yourself. For a long time, you defined yourself by your mistakes, your failures, by comparisons, and by the criticism you heard. This shaped a self-image smaller than the truth about you, a limited vision that influenced your choices and expectations. I'm repositioning your identity, reminding you that you are more than your errors, more than your falls, more than your insecurities. When you begin to see yourself through my eyes, you will see value where you once saw insufficiency. You will see potential where you once saw limitation. This shift in perspective will affect every area of your life because who you believe you are influences everything you allow yourself to experience. Prepare for a period of alignment where decisions that seemed confusing will start to make sense, where relationships will be adjusted, and where priorities will be reorganized. There may be necessary conversations, unexpected movements, and choices that require firmness, but you won't be acting on impulse, you will be acting on direction. I am guiding your steps with precision, even when you don't notice every detail. What once looked like a tangle is becoming a clear path, and you will feel the security to move forward without the constant doubt that used to paralyze you. This is a time of structural restoration where your life gains more solid foundations. I finish this stage by strengthening your inner self for what is yet to come, because there are promises that begin in the invisible before they become visible. You don't need to understand every process, just remain sensitive to my voice and willing to continue. My son, my daughter, the story that seemed marked by loss is being rewritten with concrete hope. What was torn away will be compensated in ways you cannot yet imagine. Keep your heart open, because the healing that began to manifest will continue to advance. You will realize you weren't just surviving, you were being prepared to live a phase of greater balance, purpose, and real peace. There is a weariness older than your current problems. An exhaustion that didn't start yesterday but has been accumulating in layers over the years, like invisible dust on furniture you use every day and no longer notice is covered. You learn to function while tired, to smile while overwhelmed, to decide while insecure. This created an admirable resilience in you, but also a silent burnout. My son, my daughter, I know there are moments when you feel like disappearing for a few hours just so you don't have to solve anything, answer anyone, or sustain expectations. That desire isn't selfishness. It's a sign that your soul needs true rest. Now, I approach you not to demand productivity, but to offer repose. Not a superficial rest of a few hours, but a deep rest that reorganizes your interior and gives meaning back to what felt like mere obligation. You may have normalized the pressure, as if living with a slightly tight chest was an inevitable part of adulthood, as if constant tension was the price to pay for responsibility. Over time, you stopped questioning this internal state. You just kept going, piling up tasks, worries, and expectations. I see how your body gives signs, how your mind begs for breaks, how your heart tries to get your attention through small alerts. My beloved, I did not design you to live in a permanent state of alert. I'm slowing down your thoughts now, lowering the rhythm of anxiety, creating an internal space where you can breathe without haste, think without panic, and feel without guilt. Life doesn't have to be a continuous race, and I am teaching you to walk with more balance. There is also a discreet sadness that sometimes appears without a clear explanation, a feeling that something inside you isn't fully satisfied, even when everything on the outside seems reasonable. You may have wondered why, even after achieving certain goals, you still feel a void that's hard to name. I know that void isn't ingratitude, it's a thirst for meaning. It's a desire to live something that goes beyond routine and obligations. You were created to experience purpose, not just survival. When that dimension is out of alignment, the soul signals. Now I am beginning to reignite within you the perception of the calling that has been dormant, the sensitivity for what truly matters. You will begin to see that there are still unwritten chapters waiting for your courage. Perhaps you've shrunk your dreams to fit your circumstances, adapted your desires to a reality that seemed unchangeable, and convinced yourself it was too late to try something new. That resignation may have brought some stability, but it also limited your expansion. My son, my daughter, I did not set an expiration date on your hope. I did not establish an age limit for your new beginnings. As long as you breathe, there is possibility. As long as you hear my voice, there is direction. I am breaking the lie that the best is already behind you. I am dissolving the idea that your story has reached its peak. What is to come may surprise you, because it doesn't depend only on external circumstances, but on the internal renewal that begins now. There are relationships that challenged you deeply, conflicts that shook your trust, words that kept echoing in your mind long after they were spoken. You may have carried grudges you tried to ignore, but they still influence how you react. I know that forgiving isn't simple, especially when the wound was deep. But I also know that holding on to resentment keeps you chained to a past that can no longer be changed. I do not minimize your pain. I do not romanticize what happened, but I offer real liberation from the emotional weight that continues to drain your energy. As you allow me to treat those memories, you will realize that forgiveness isn't about excusing the wrong. It's about setting your own heart free to live lighter. You may have felt that your voice lost its strength, that your opinions aren't heard like they used to be, that your presence is considered too ordinary to be valued. This can generate a feeling of invisibility, as if you are becoming a bystander in your own story. My beloved, I do not see you as a supporting character. I see you as an essential part of the plan I am developing. Your experience, your sensitivity, and your journey are not disposable. Now I am restoring your confidence to stand your ground with serenity, to express what you think without aggression, and to occupy your space without guilt. Your voice has weight. Your presence has impact. You will begin to realize there is still so much to contribute. As you listen to these words, something is beginning to adjust in how you perceive yourself in the face of the future. The fear that once felt like a wall is starting to become just a shadow, something that exists but no longer dominates. I am strengthening your emotional structure so that challenges aren't automatically interpreted as threats, but as stages of growth. The maturity you've gained over the years was not in vain. It will become an ally in your next steps. You are no longer the same person you were before. What used to knock you down will now be faced with more awareness, more balance, and more faith. There is a specific promise being consolidated in your life, even if you can't see all the outlines yet. It involves stability where there was instability, reconciliation where there was rupture, and direction where there was confusion. I am aligning events that will intersect at the right time, creating connections that will make sense when you look back. Trust the process being conducted beyond your field of vision. What seems simple or even insignificant today may be the missing piece to complete a larger picture. I don't work with improvisation, I work with precision. Your story is being handled with intentional care. Allow yourself to feel hope without fear of looking naive. Allow yourself to believe without needing every guarantee. The faith I cultivate in you is not based on illusions, but on a relationship. You aren't believing in something abstract. You are trusting someone who knows every detail of your journey. When insecurity tries to return, remember what is being built inside you right now. This internal transformation will be the foundation for firmer decisions, healthier relationships, and choices more aligned with your true essence. There is no irreversible waste when I am redeeming. There is no premature end when I am still writing. My son, my daughter, you didn't get here by chance, nor did you endure everything you endured without a purpose. What looked like mere resistance was preparation. What looked like mere survival was strengthening. Stay sensitive. Stay attentive. The phase approaching will bring concrete confirmation that healing, renewal, and restoration were not distant promises, but real processes that have already begun to transform your life from the inside out. If this message has spoken to your heart, I invite you to be part of our mission to spread faith and hope. Subscribe to the channel now, leave a like, and share this message with those you love. Every gesture of yours can bring comfort and transformation to more lives. I truly want to know how this word touched you, so write it in the comments. I will read everyone, and I will be praying for you and your family. Together, let's light up the world with the Word of God. See you soon, and may God bless you. Amen.